Okay, good evening. We are going to start our meeting for the month of September 19th. Time is 7:03 p.m. We're going to do this via the Zoom. And we're going to call, let's see, public comment is the first thing that we're going to bring up. So if you, oh, Ann's here. All right, so if you want to call in with public comment, Rich is going to address it. When you do call in, please state your name and your address so that we can have it for the records, and then we will take it from there.
Yeah, if you could just use the comment section to identify whether or not you want to speak, that would be great. Hi, Mitch.
Anyone calling in?
I do not right now have anybody is indicated in the comment section that they wish to speak. So
Give it another minute, 7:05, we'll move on to the next.
yeah.
item. Okay.
I do see a hand raised. I see Dana Pilata has her hand raised.
No, I'll
Sorry about that. I can't find the comment section to actually
Sorry.
utilize. So sorry for the delay.
go ahead, Dana.
Sorry, I just want to get to my thing here.
Yeah, I don't have a comment section either, Rich. It might depend on the type of Zoom. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there was a
comment is
question
the-
and answer,
yeah.
so maybe raise a hand.
Yeah, and the key, or raise a hand works too. Raise a hand works too. Yep.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
probably better actually.
Okay. Dana Pilata, 43 St. Denis Drive, Westwood, Mass. Members of the board, I am here again tonight and plan to continue to be here monthly to monitor the situation regarding inclusion and to hold the board accountable to the neurodiverse children in the community. I am pleased to see again it is on tonight's agenda and look forward to hearing what has come in the past month. I also will plan to continue to spread the word to parents in the community who are willing to stand by me with this fight. After listening to the entirety of last month's meeting and re-listening via recording, I think it's imperative you know a little bit more about Olivia's situation. As I mentioned, Olivia has been successful in rec for years. I sign her up every year in March into summer, and provide Olivia's IEP when the rec doc comes out in April, which I believe is ample notice prior to her start in July 4th week. It needs to be stressed, as this was on the public record, Olivia is not a dangerous child to the staff or any other campers. And as a mother and a nurse practitioner, I never would have sent her if that was the case. She struggles with transitions and was utilizing far too many resources, up to 3 people at a time, to be successful in transitions during camp, which the camp was not equipped to accommodate. It is also important you understand the limitations we face during the summer for programs with neurodiverse children. Most of our kids attend ESY during the morning and only need childcare in the afternoon. We are also limited in the town due to transportation restrictions within town lines, and that is where we have to stay if we need transportation. So when you narrow the field to a half-day program that is in town lines, our only options are the rec or to pay for a full day expensive neurodiverse program. Regarding some bullets from the last meeting, Mr. Katzman asked a wonderful question about how many kids were on IEPs, and it was stated 45 kids. I just want to point out that undervalues the number of kids that could be in the program, because most of us, it is known not to sign your kid up for rec if you have a child with significant disabilities. Another comment that was made was to see how the programming comes out and the response to the programming that came out in this fall brochure. Us neurodiverse parents were thrilled to see it. But unfortunately, I don't know if it's going to be a good representation in these numbers because we weren't notified and many of us throw those brochures out. We've never had programs, so we didn't expect it. And many of us had already committed to programmings in surrounding communities. I think what was most tough for me, and I don't think it was said in ill will, but about an hour into the program, one of you mentioned that you feel blessed to not have a neurodiverse child. I don't think it was said to be unkind, but it was a very insensitive comment because we all feel very blessed to have neurodiverse children. These children add a lot to the community. And I believe that if they're fostered, that these children can grow and have great peer relationships and be active members in our community. Thank you for the time. And I continue to look forward to working with you so that my child and all children can be a part of the town.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you, Dana. This is Paul Tesseri.
No,
You
Paul, it's public comment.
okay, I don't understand what ESY is. That was a comment that was made by Dana.
Extended school year.
What is it?
Extended school year.
Thank you.
All right, let's see, I've got one more raised hand. All right, Liz, state your name and address, please.
Yep, Elizabeth, Poland 58 Juniper Ridge Road. So I just want to echo what Dana said. I have two neurodiverse children who I do want to say, Dana, I'm very proud of you for saying that. I am very blessed to have two, as well as one child who is neurotypical, attending the preschool as a peer model. So I am all about inclusion. And my daughter attended Sunny Days this summer in the rec. This was our first experience with rec because unfortunately, I did not choose to send my kids to the rec program. They're in 5th grade, and I had always been told, do not send them. They cannot be supported. Basically, they're not welcome, which was very hard to hear. I actually absolutely loved Sunny Days. I thought they were amazing. My daughter thrived. So I do appreciate that program, but I do want to echo that unfortunately, my kids do sports out of town. So we were not able to sign up for the inclusive programming. I am very happy that it is there and will, look to utilize that in the future. And so happy that, these kids are able to participate with their peers. But, unfortunately, I think sometimes a little too late notice for some of these. So just wanted to echo that I'm very happy that we're moving forward, but also, a little skeptical of some of the comments by the board as well. Thank you so much.
All right, Liz, I had promoted you to panelist rather than I hit the wrong button, so I'm just going to mute you for now, okay? And
Yep.
If you could just black out your camera, that would be appreciated.
Of course.
Because I can't find a way to demote you, and the buttons on Zoom are a little tricky here, especially given how small my computer is. So thank you for your
problem at all.
comments.
Thank you.
All right. Does anyone else, if you want to speak, please raise your hand. All right. Monique, please state your name and address.
Monique D1, 167 Carroll Avenue. I have had a wonderful, wonderful experience with the town, with extended day for my children. What is bothersome to me is that my friends in this community, we paying taxes. Their children are not experiencing the same thing as my children are. And I don't think that's okay. Extended day, everything the community offers. That's why we moved here, my husband and I. But at the same time, if not all children are able to have the same experiences, that's very concerning to us.
Was that it, Monique? I'm sorry. Are you there?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Did you
Rich.
have any-
Sorry, Rich. Yes, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I am going to go to Peggy next.
Hi there. My name is Peggy McInnes. I'm at 92 Phillips Brooks Road. And I also want to echo a lot of what Dana said earlier about including all children. I am incredibly blessed to have, 2 kids that are able to participate in all of the recreation programs, and they've enjoyed them immensely. I do have one neurodiverse son who, even if I could get him into one of the programs over the summer, like the Lego or something that he might be interested in, they fill up so quickly and they're so scarce. It's really difficult to be able to at least find something for him to be able to socialize and enjoy time with kids his own age. He also participates in the extended year program. So I'm really hopeful that in Westwood, this great town that offers such great special education programs during the day, that, we can go really beyond. I apologize about my dogs. We can go beyond what happens during the school day and give these kids a chance to be able to socialize with kids that, give them that opportunity to be able to hang out and do fun things with kids their own age, as opposed to, coming home and being isolated, so to speak. So my ask of you folks is to take a look at the programs that we do during the day and try to see whether or not those are types of things that we can extend into activities to help these kids socialize, because I think it's imperatively important, especially at this young age, for them to make friends and for them to find peers for them, so that they're not so isolated. So I really appreciate your time. I did see the stuff that just came out in the recreation bulletin, and I was super excited to see that. So I see that there's some changes that are happening, but I'm pleading for you for my son. So I appreciate your time, and thank you for letting me speak tonight.
Thank you, Peggy. All right, I don't see any other hands. Any other hands? Raise your hand if you want to speak. Nope. All right. That appears to be it for the folks that want to speak.
Okay, so now we're going to move to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove anything or change anything that was in the consent agenda? All right, so now I need someone to approve the consent agenda.
I'll approve.
Perfect. Okay, anyone second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, so I now to go through everyone to approve it, right?
That's right, Sheila. Roll call vote. Yep.
Okay, so Katie and Paul already are covered, so Faud.
Actually, they need to, technically, they need to vote too.
Okay, Paul, you need, I'm just going across my screen this way. All right, Paul, you're
Okay.
next to me.
I approve.
All right, Katie, you're next to me.
Approve.
All right, Faud.
Approve.
Perfect. Teresa.
Approve.
Rania is a full-time member, right?
No, Rania is an associate member.
Okay. Ian,
I'm in favor.
Mitch,
Yes.
okay, and Joyce is associate.
That's correct.
Okay, perfect. All right, so now, okay, so now we approve the minutes too?
That's correct.
Okay, approval of the minutes from last month. I need someone to, okay, we're gonna go through the list.
We need to-
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Ian motioned, Mitch second. Paul, I'm going through the order. I'm looking on the screen.
Approved.
Okay.
Agree, agree.
Katie,
Approved.
perfect. Food,
Agree.
Teresa,
Approve.
Ian,
Approve.
and Mitch.
Yes, approved.
Okay, perfect. All right, so now we're going on to commission members report. And you're on, Rich.
Well, actually, there were no commission member reports. But we just need to also just review the monthly report, which I'm not necessarily going to highlight. There's nothing on here that we haven't already talked about per se, unless anybody has any questions. I've already talked about numbers over the summer. Fall registration started in second half of August. I believe we already talked about that last time as well. Any questions on the monthly report?
Just very briefly, Rich, did we adopt the resident versus non-resident registration?
I think it was a recommendation. We haven't adopted it yet.
Okay, so we recommended it. So when would that take effect?
Well, I still need to run that up the management chain and make sure that the town is good with it. I don't see why they wouldn't, but that hasn't been done yet. So that's still on the to-do list.
So
Thank
is
you.
that gonna happen for spring into summer program, or is that gonna be for the winter?
Well, we can do it as early as the winter. Yep.
All right, good.
Okay.
When that registration doesn't happen until December. So there's time.
Okay. All right, so now you want, go ahead. sorry.
Sorry, I was muted. I thought the vote was to change the registration. We're not allowed to. Like, we can only recommend. I thought.
It's a recommendation. Yeah.
Okay. I
If
didn't
that-
understand
if
that.
if that's the case, then the minutes need to be amended because the minutes state that Sheila moved to change the registration.
Yeah, that was my
policy.
understanding.
Right, that's what it says in the minutes, and it was approved and unanimously passed. So is there a change?
We don't have the power to do that.
That's
If you
right.
look at the- If you look at the,
It's your
overall-
recommendation.
yeah,
But
we
when
are
we
here
did
to
the,
advise. We can't make rules and regulations.
I thought we made the rules for, changing the tiers for registration,
Yeah,
all that. Yeah,
and they were adopted by the town. That's right.
Oh, they were? Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. I thought they were adopted by the commission. I guess I'm mistaken.
Both.
We're
So
not
then the
involved.
minutes should be amended then,
Agreed.
right?
So should it say Sheila suggested to change the registration as opposed to move to change?
It's a recommendation to change. We voted on a recommendation to change.
Yeah.
Okay, so I
apparently.
can update those last minutes and I can send them back to Rick and Angela.
Sorry, I didn't mean to create all the controversy.
No, this
Yeah.
is good. No, Mitch, we need this, we need to have that direction. We have to have the correct direction, Mitch.
We're not as powerful as we thought we were.
Yeah, I just
Well,
remembered.
well, recommendations are fine.
Anything else that has to be changed on that? That's it? Okay. You're on, Rich, for your director report.
All right, so the first item on here is the Westwood Day, obviously happened on Saturday. From our perspective, it was a great day. Things went very, very well. Couldn't have beat the weather. And generally speaking, I thought you know, it was a terrific day. A lot of feedback from folks that I heard from all different parts would indicate the same. So I guess the question to you all, and I guess would one, I'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions verbally tonight, and ask you if you have any notes or recommendations or observations, that you shoot me an email with those, and we'll incorporate those into the debrief that we'll be doing shortly to incorporate into planning for next year.
Did anyone talk to the vendors? Are they willing to come back again next year?
I'm sorry, who?
Did any of the staff talk to the vendors to see if they were interested in coming back next year?
We have not had that discussion yet internally.
It might be interesting to see if we offer them, like, I don't know, some little savings if they sign up now, so you don't have to worry about it for next year. Or no?
Sorry, my dog was barking.
Well, we don't have the date for next year, though.
No, I
right?
understand that, but I'm like, if you get them ahead of time, that they make a commitment as opposed to running around next year trying to lock them in.
Yeah, many of them are repeats.
Okay.
Rich, I had someone who asked me about the food concession area, and they said there's a little confusion between the area, like where you go, because like some were charging and some were not. So one bistro was giving out free strawberry shortcake, I think it was, and then like you went next door to the cannoli guy or to the Chinese food restaurant tent, and they were charging. So I think that there was just a few questions about maybe separating those who were giving out. I know the food has to be together because of the nature of health, the health concerns, but like the coffee was free, but people didn't know that. So some people didn't go over there because they didn't want to have their kids asking them for 10,000 things. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And so I didn't know, like, if in the brochure or somewhere we could just say like complimentary, complimentary treats provided by one bistro at the one bistro tent, complimentary coffee if you go to the coffee cart, so that they know that if you are seeing certain places in the food court area, that some are complimentary where others are being charged. Does that make sense at all?
It does. Yeah. One immediate thought comes to mind is maybe we could put it on the menus. The menus were posted on either end of the food court and whatnot. Maybe we can do it there. So yeah. I don't know if we'll be able to put them all together. That's too complex a mix, but
yeah.
Do you know from the vendors at the time they sign up if they're going to do complimentary, if they're going to charge?
I believe they do, yes. Although I can't say that for sure. I'd have to talk with Holly. She's the food vendor manager.
Okay.
Whether or not she knew it for all of them or not. One of them was a sponsor, and normally we give the sponsors a booth in Vendor Village. This one particular one, the coffee one, asked for a food vendor spot instead of a table in Vendor Village, and so we accommodated that as a sponsor. But whether or not Holly knew that was going to be free or not, I don't know.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Are we discussing suggestions now, or we're emailing them?
Either or. I'd appreciate it
okay.
if you could email them to me, but if you have anything right now that you want to bring up, then
yeah, I'll bring something up. I have to be honest, it was the first time I've been to Westwood Day. And I was really impressed with the event. Like I came without my son because I was volunteering, and then was like, oh my goodness. And I think everyone knows my son is neurotypical with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So I went and I got him, and he was enjoying all the offerings, and he actually had a wonderful time. It was a very big surprise for me, but I think, again, people don't know this perspective. I think, again, my hesitation to go into Westwood Day is the anxiety a parent feels when you have a child with such a complex behaviors. And so you know, whether the barriers are there because of the infrastructure or sometimes it's just psychological, I think what's really great is to offer, and I noticed at 10 when I got there, it was really, there weren't a lot of people. So is it possible, and I don't, again, it was my first time and I wasn't there the whole time. Is it possible to offer a sensory hour for not even just sensory hour. I know the Children's Museum in Boston does this where they have an hour for, I forget what they call it exactly, and I'll look it up. But there's also kids who are medically complex that can't be around a lot of people because they're immune compromised. So there are hours when these types of families that have concerns, whether it's behavioral or medical, that they feel like, okay, I'm going to be supported. There's not going to be as many people. And it encourages them to be part of it. And the hope is you build comfort and then you come during regular times. Because again, I'm admitting I was always afraid to take my son to Westwood Day because I was like, it's probably crazy. I can't handle it. And he had an amazing time and he was there during the busiest time and it was really wonderful. Love the event. I'm so impressed with all of you. Thank you for doing it.
Okay.
I would be kind of nervous expecting the vendors in the inflatables to be skilled enough if something comes up. I like, that's my worry if something comes up. That's my only concern. I like what you suggested, but now you're opening it up to the vendors need to have some type of management on that too, right?
But wouldn't the parents most likely be with the
Yeah,
children?
you wouldn't need a management. It's more like, for example, I had 2 people watching him because my son can get lost very easily. When it's very crowded, it's a concern. Eloping, it's not like anything bad is going to happen. It's just when it's less crowded, it's really for the anxiety of the parents. Because like if my son started darting and I couldn't see him, he can't talk. And if I call out his name, he actually won't come back to me. He just will get lost. So that's part of the reason I worry about taking him in crowded places. Because like if for some reason I turn my head and he disappears and I start calling out his name, he's not going to come to me. And if it's crowded, it's a lot of anxiety. So it's really not that you have to do anything different. It's just literally not having a lot of people around. If a child has a tantrum, you know, they flow on the floor, but again, there's not a lot of people around. No one's going to step on them. So it's nothing, there's no extra liability or extra precautions people have to do. It's really just a quieter time where we know there isn't a lot of traffic, so parents can feel like, okay, I can bring my child and enjoy it. And you know, for some people, that's the only time they could enjoy it. Again, if their child is immune compromised and can't be around a lot of people because of infectious reasons, or like an example with my son, or things like that.
So the Westwood Day goes 10 to 3. What time? So the run starts at, is it 9, Rich? The run?
That's right.
So
9.
what time would you suggest that we set aside?
So the schools usually do this. And so like an event, I can speak for
Fun
Downey.
school.
When Downey hosts an event and like they do trunk or treat, what they will say is the event starts at 5, but they will send out a quiet invitation to families who need the support, saying there will be a quieter time from 5:30 to 5, so you can come have the experience, but the DJ's not playing music, it's brighter out, and it's like what was mentioned, it's the families who are present all understand that if a child has a meltdown, if a child has a concern, or for an adult that matters, because we do have adults in our community who have a variety of things, it gives them that time saying, please come have that experience. And you can kind of know to get out by 10 o'clock, 5 o'clock, whatever the time frame is, so that you're allotted the experience without all of the extra things that come with it.
Okay, I hear everything you're saying. So we start at 9 with the fun run, 10 o'clock, the vendors. So from 7:30 to 10, the vendors are driving around their vehicles, setting up their booths. So you can't do anything from 7:30 to 10. So what's the time that you would like to do this, or that you're suggesting that we would do this?
If it was a school event, what they would typically suggest, the principals typically suggest is a half an hour before. So
Okay,
the
so
vendors.
we can't do a half hour before. We have the vendors all driving around, and when
No,
I
I was there. I
they're
understand.
lined up.
So what about 10 to 10:30?
So 10 to 10:30. Once it starts, have that
would
set
be-
aside.
Yeah, so it would have to be known to the public, if this suggestion were to move forward.
Yeah.
Have to be known to the public that, don't show up until 10:30. That I think the difficult thing might be the race, because people are finishing the race, and then where do they go?
I would just wanted to move the race back. Do we just say the race starts maybe a half an hour later? So instead of having the race start at 9.
You have the rec people on setting up at 6 o'clock in the morning. So when I tell you time is tight, time is tight.
Yeah.
So if I can suggest that this is a great topic, first of all, number one. And there's got to be other folks. I mean, I'm going to list a couple of groups like CPAC, Director of Student Services. We should, we're not going to solve this question right now. Those are two groups that I think we should sincerely invite prior to planning of next year and get their input of how we handle this. So
This is
and I don't
probably
know
a
if there are other.
department conversation, right? And
Well,
then
it is,
some
Ann, but
suggestions to us, if we say, hey, that's a great suggestion, think about it.
I know. So Ann, I agree with you 100% that this is a rec program or an initiative or whatever, but I don't, and I'm speaking very broadly, and I may be completely wrong, but I don't think that there's any of us on this commission that are experienced or knowledgeable or technically capable of making decisions of what direction we go or what we recommend. I mean, we don't
Yeah, and
know.
I think this is it's like a town activity. It's not just the rec commission, it's all the town boards, right? Or all the town offices, I should say, they get involved. Like, I think we've tried to say, it's not the rec department that runs it, should be the whole town. But so I guess, Rich, what would our role be to say, here's a suggestion, came from a member of the rec commission. How might that suggestion be accommodated, or
is it possible?
Why can't it?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I would run it up the flagpole, just like I would with any other recommendation that y'all make.
I think it's something worthwhile to be considered. I mean, we're not going to solve it now, but I think, Rich, that's a great idea. What can we do for a quiet time, and how do we incorporate it? That's all.
I hadn't really thought of the immunocompromised either, but that's a good.
See, I don't either, and I forgot about the music thing, and that, like even Target and stores do this now, where they have quiet sensory hours, where, or even Costco, when COVID happened, they had a senior hour before where there's less people. It is, so you have to, it's hard to, honestly, I have experience with the disability world, but there's so much I don't know. As much as I know, there's so much I don't know, and I forget. And I am personally overextended because I have a full-time job and I'm a single mom. But like when I was there, the music was very loud, and I forgot my son's noise canceling headphones. And so one of the things during that hour would be there would be no music, because that's another thing that a lot of people might have issues with. But CPAC is wonderful. The Commission on Disability would be wonderful, because again, there are children that have barriers, but there's also the elderly and adults who have disabilities. So they would all be wonderful to consult with. I just wanted to bring it up.
This is tangentially a little bit off topic, a little bit back to the earlier topic, but I know one of the commenters from earlier said that they didn't know about some of the programs that have been initiated. We would want to figure out how to make sure people knew if we did this, about this. And then going back to that comment, maybe there is a way, and maybe Rania or any of the people who provide public comment could help figure out what the best way to get the word out on some of these programs.
I mean, again, I wish I can't represent everyone from that community, but I know what they were saying was right. When you want to get into special programs, there, like when I was taking my son to adaptive gymnastics, I had to drive all the way to Natick. And then you have to sign up ahead of time. So it's when the recreational therapies came out, I posted them twice on the CPAC Facebook page. I'm part of that. But one of the mothers brought up a point, like they already signed up for other stuff. You have to do it quickly. You have to do it ahead of time. So it was a little too late. So maybe being consistent with the offerings. Again, I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Like we're always offering this program on this day so people can plan on it. So maybe being consistent about what the programs are, the days and times would be helpful to that community so they can plan ahead. Because that's what one of the mothers said. She's like, I already signed up my kid for something, so I couldn't sign up. And so that made me think if there is a low attendance to these new recreational therapies, that's probably one of the reasons. Parents wanted to sign up, but they had such short notice that had other prior commitments already paid, all of that.
Rich, do you want people to follow up with some of these suggestions in email as well? So you
It would
can
be
partially
appreciated, yeah.
track them?
I think so. And again, any comments that you have, any observations, large or small? I mean, you all worked it, so you all, you know, had an operational perspective as well as, you know, just the perspective of attending it. So, you know, the feedback that I like to hear is, you know, how can we do it even better next year? Right.
And Rich, if I could add to that, what are other towns doing? Are there any, like, what is Norwood doing? What are everybody who has a Norwood Day? Are they doing anything to help us out? And can we learn from their experience? Just a thought.
Good point.
Go
May I throw
ahead, Liddy.
something in quick? It's not that important, but just a few pieces I was thinking about. I think it was awesome. I think you guys did a great job. I had a lot of fun meeting many of you in person. Joyce and I had a great time. But I have two thoughts. I'm wondering, I thought it was great to have more food vendors because last year I remember the lines were really long. They were still long this year, but there were more options, which I thought were great. I don't know if there's space for more vendors, but I always think no more space for more food vendors.
I think we were at our max this year.
Okay. That was my only thought. And then my other
I
question.
mean, and keep in mind also last year, Katie, we were still coming out of COVID and a lot of these food vendors were put out of business during COVID. So we were lucky we got what we got last year. And
well, we were also the same day as Medfield.
Well,
right?
Yeah. So this year, I think was more in line with what we typically had. I think we had one or two more than we normally do, but certainly a few more than last year. So there were a couple of extenuating circumstances last year.
My only other question too is when Joyce and I were watching the road race, I'm not going to speak for you, Joyce, but I was surprised by how I just thought there'd be more runners for like adult runners. So do they have to pay to register, right?
Yeah, yeah. Depending on when they register, it's either like 15 or 20 bucks.
Okay. What does that money go towards? And is there a way to like make it free or $5 to see if we get more people?
It goes to support the costs of running the race.
Is that just like the bibs? Are you paying for police detail?
The town pays for the police detail for sure. Yeah. There's bibs there. We have to pay for the timing system. There's a lot. I don't know there's like 3 or 4 different expense lines with regards to the race.
I saw people putting down and taking up cones.
Yeah.
I didn't know if those were like volunteers or if that was like a paid.
Well, yeah,
There was
we
some
have
truck,
some paid staff. We
nice.
have volunteers. Westwood Day is an expensive enterprise.
You know,
I do-
signage for no parking and stuff like that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Teresa.
Great. Only because you mentioned the race, Katie. I do know I was able to kind of cheer on some of the runners as they were finishing the race. And a handful of runners, I want to say about 4, maybe 6 actually got lost on the course. They said that people weren't directing them well. And instead of coming down the designated street to come right across and through, they actually came closer to French Street somehow. Like they got kind of lost legitimately in the maze and came down. Like, I don't know. They said, I don't know how we got here, but we figured out how to spit back out, and they go, I think we actually ran an extra like 0.3 of a mile. I'm not a runner, but that just sounds like a lot more when you are running. And so as they were running, they're like, next year, get better, people telling us where to go. And I was like, I know a guy. I'll tell him.
That's
So-
good feedback. We'll take that one back.
Yeah, that was
I
kind of
haven't
like
heard
a point. Mike was hysterical. I think it was Mike Walsh on the announcing as runners were coming in. Was he the one announcing?
Yes, it was Mike. Yeah.
People were laughing so hard they were legitimately crying. Like people were having a blast hearing him calling people, like knowing people and calling them out and making it fun. Like, you're not gonna let them beat them. She's gonna stroller and she's gonna lap you. Like, he just was having so much fun and making it fun for people spectating. I'd love to also know how we can get more residents to come and just watch the runners and cheer them on, because that was a blast.
Okay.
All right, so send your feedback. Rich, can we move on to program updates?
Sure, would love to. I just put fall registration here just because I always like to give a quick update how registrations look into the upcoming season, as registration took place on the 22nd. And the numbers are very, very strong. But we just started programming this week or last week, and we'll obviously that will continue throughout the fall. Numbers are already higher than they were just 1 week into it than they were the entire last season. So we're going to have a very successful fall from a numbers perspective, which is great. And then inclusive programming, I wanted to give you a couple of updates from last time. I mentioned to you that I was in talks with hiring somebody for this fall, a behavioral specialist, to help develop some programming for us for the winter and spring seasons of next year. That has happened. It's definitive at this point. So I will have that individual be working on a lot of different initiatives to work with other towns that offer or are further along with their inclusive programming than we are, to understand what they've done and how they've done it so we can learn from their experience. This individual will be working on with one of our programs that are in the brochure this fall, the side-by-side kids night out. And she will also be working on an initiative that I've been working with on another parent advocate, where we're going to create a training program to develop staff with to give them behavioral training, if you will, and it will be like 40 hours of classroom training and 40 hours of in-service training. We actually received a grant from that recently, just over the past week or two. That was announced, and that money will be used to pull this training program together. And the individual we hired will be running that with a team of folks. So so we've made some good progress since the last time we met on those two things, and yeah, that's where we are with that.
So what comes next for the summer camp discussion? What can or should the rec commission do, if anything? Like where does?
Well,
where
what
does
would you,
this
I mean,
topic
what would you
lie?
like to do, Ann? I mean, you can suggest anything you'd like, I guess.
Well, I'm thinking we're gonna have comment every month.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it will focus on summer programming.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I know it's a bigger issue than just the Recreation Commission. I mean, it would involve the whole like town, I would imagine, the board, select board, I don't know. I mean, it involves funds, it involves, so what, I guess I'm wondering, as a Recreation Commission, what can we do? Survey other towns, see what they do for their summer programming, where funding comes from. Are there grants out there? Like who can educate us, or who do we, you know, should we be talking to? Should we have a subcommittee that looks into this? You know, I know we can't make decisions.
Yeah, so I have somebody pulling a lot of that information together. That's the individual that I was just referring to.
Okay.
who I
So you
recently
have,
hired.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't have any of that information for you now, but we'll have it for you in future months. You know, if you want to form a subcommittee and make some of those calls yourself, of course, you're free to do so. That's up to you all, but I am working on that.
You know, that's a great point. And you took the words right out of my mouth when you started talking about, are there grants? You know, if we start involving, you know, let's involve, you know, like we mentioned CPAC, and we mentioned, or I mentioned, you know, other groups, Early Childhood Council, all these groups that are here that are already know all this stuff that we don't know.
Right.
They can help advise us. So let's see what we can do and take advantage of that. Maybe Rich, like you're right. You know, maybe we do start a sub, or Ann, I don't know who said it, but maybe we can start a subgroup.
Well, I was just asking, you know, I was just asking because it's going to be a topic every month, and we should.
I think Rich is on it, though. I think he's got a
Yeah,
person.
so if you're hired someone,
So
this is,
let's
they're
just
going to be looking to this.
see how our progress is, and then we'll know
Yeah,
next month
yeah.
how further along we are, and then we have some type of guidance then.
Rich, is this individual just a consultant, or are they hired full-time? How does that work?
No,
Right.
no, it's neither. They are an employee, they're not a consultant, and they're working for me part-time, probably 12 hours a week.
Okay, thank you.
Is there, is that what they're looking for part-time, or do we just only have the budget for part-time?
I'm not, can you ask that again, Ann?
I'm sorry, are they only available part-time, or
That's right,
do
yeah.
we only have budget for, okay,
Yeah, that's what they're available for. Yeah.
so they may need some help, potentially, depending on how much work there is.
So I don't know, Rich, if you've mentioned to the group that Westwood is hoping to do a accessibility audit. Have you all talked about that before? Okay. So I know the select board, I think they put money aside to pay for a accessibility audit for the town, and that would include recreation and all the other functions of the town, voting. I'm not sure if they decided they were going to include the school system or that should be separate. I think they were going to talk to the school system to see if they wanted to be part of the audit. And there is a grant where they give you up to $200,000 that is through, I just can't remember all the acronyms. My brain can't hold it. The municipal disability state. I'm forgetting, but the grant is due at the end of the month. We are going to apply for it. I think specifically to maybe even make the audit more robust, because we have funding for the audit, but I think they're gonna, I'm not 100% sure to be honest, but I think the reason they want to do the audit is to sort of have a master plan of how to make the town serve everyone more equally. I think that was the idea behind it. And I have to be honest, I don't know anything about audits. So I don't know if you all know this, I'm co-chair on the Commission of Disability in Westwood. and my co-chair has been there forever, and she knows everything, and she knows about the audit, and she actually had recommended it, but yeah,
So I guess,
that's
is
it.
that another group then that could make recommendations for,
Yeah.
you know, is it more, you know, is there a way to get aides at summer camp if that's what's needed? Is there, you know, one-on-one, is it, you know, what, because
I don't know if they'd be helpful with that, but I think they are a good resource when it comes to finding resources like grants. A lot of them are older and they have a long working history, a lot more experience than I do. So
maybe, Rich, we talk to select board and
Yeah,
when they do their audit, they can come and,
Yeah.
you know,
So
someone can advise us, advise you, you know,
Right.
it feels like it's bigger than
I got
an
confidence.
issue that we can
We'll
solve.
get on it.
Yep.
All right, can we move on to financial updates?
Anyone else on inclusive programming? Questions?
You,
All right.
So I'm sorry. Yes, I have one more comment. So if we're under the timeline to, as Rania just said, for stuff to happen before the end of the month, I think that we should probably start something internally that some subcommittee group can work. Rania, if we could work with you or whoever, and make sure that, you know, we have folks every month now that are going to be looking to us to help this. And if we don't do something or act or get an initiative in place, it just doesn't look good for us. It doesn't look good for anybody. It doesn't look good for the parents who are trying to be here or anybody else involved. So if there's something that has to be done before the end of the month, and I will be the first one to step up and volunteer. And I'll, you know, and again, if there's something we can do, I'm more than welcome.
Rania, what did you say about the end of the month? Was that a deadline for a grant? Or does
yeah,
that
it's
have
a
to do-
deadline for the grant. It's about expanding accessibilities services. So it could be everything from, I know one big thing is an elevator at the town hall, because the floor, not all, it's not completely accessible, but it's amazing that they'll give you up to $200,000 and we're not even going to go after it all. But having said that, I have a full-time job and I'm a single mom. So as much as it pains me and I'm trying to help them go after it, I can't do it by myself. There's a lot of stuff I can't even fill out.
So who's the them? Is it the committee that you co-chair?
No, I was working, I'm forgetting who there's a few people involved, but we had decided that we were just going to do the survey and not go after more money than that. Just because
Is
it's
there
like,
some
where
amount
do
of
you
help?
start? I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I was wondering, is that there's some amount of help that, you know, maybe not even us, maybe some of the people who called in today could provide that could help get this grant? Or is it the type of thing where there's so much involved in applying for it that you need to know, like you need to have so many specifics as to what you would use the money for, that it
I have
can't be applied
never-
for until the audit
I've
is done?
never applied for the grant. There's so much I don't know. So in a way, I'm like, it's okay if we do a small, you know, and then learn, and then next year do more. Who knows?
Yeah. So can we take this offline? Is it, how do we handle this conversation? So Ronnie, I mean, I would be more than willing to like kind of kick this off.
Yeah, we can, you
And-
and I can, let's talk offline. You and I can connect and
Okay.
whoever else wants
I'll-
to. Rich
I'll-
has my email, so.
And Ronnie, I can help you out as well. I have a background in special ed and
Yeah.
school administration, so I have a advanced
Okay.
degree stuff that I can help out with.
So I unfortunately don't have anybody's contact information. Rich, can you make that happen? The contact information with myself, Teresa and Rania?
Yep.
So we can
Rich-
get in touch with each other?
Rich, did we ever get any feedback from, so last weekend was the first weekend that inclusive classes were kicked off. Did we get any feedback from either the instructor or parents? Because it seems from what I see online, the registration seems pretty solid. It looked like only one availability slot.
Yeah,
from 3 to
it doesn't
6.
start till October 16th, Teresa.
Oh, it's October. Okay, I looked at the wrong date. My apologies.
Well, that's good that registration is almost full.
Yeah, I mean, 3 to 6, there's 1 spot, 7 to 10, there's 3 spots, which is phenomenal. Nothing for the parents' night out yet. That's on the 10th.
Hmm.
And I know that inclusive swim, I was talking to Sue about it, and she said they have to just come in and talk to her and do the registration screening with her.
Okay.
All right, great. Thank you very much, everybody. It's been a great topic.
All right, so moving to the financials, I gave you winter, spring, and then the full fiscal year 2022, which ended in June, all at once this time. What you'll see for both winter and spring seasons is the registrations were up, the revenue was up, and when you look at the year to date, you'll also notice a similar story, that if you compare the entire fiscal year 2022 to 2021, very solid. I mean, of course, 2021 was hampered by COVID. We lost the entire spring, and you know, it was just obviously COVID killed the year. So the comparisons year over year are not even, it's not even really comparable, to be honest with you, but very, very solid. Our attendance, our programs are being very well attended is really the overall message. But you know, behind all of this, all of these stats that you've been provided on the stat reports. I don't know if anybody has any particular questions about it.
I have one quick question for you, Rich. So I was just kind of reading it earlier, and I see like where it says like playgrounds 0000.
Yeah.
Are, in terms of like the playgrounds and fields utilized by Park and Rec, right?
It's not related to that.
It's not related to that. Okay, thank
No.
you.
It's a program that we used to offer. It's a legacy program that went away with COVID, and we haven't brought it back. It was just
Okay.
basically like it was a camp-like program run out of the playground at Deerfield, but I don't know if we'll ever offer that again, to be honest, Teresa.
Oh, I remember that program. Okay, yeah. All right, thank you.
Yep. All right. So moving on to fields and facilities, I just want to give you a quick update with pickleball. I don't have a ton from last time, just simply because we're planning for Westwood Day and the end of summer camp. It just wasn't able to spend a lot of time on it over the past month. But we did have a big meeting with a lot of the interested parties within the town, DPW, town management, finance, etc. And I have a few things to do, one of which was also focusing on, probably the biggest to do coming out of there was working with the engineer to beef up the foul ball mitigation due to the fact that it's right behind the baseball field. So the engineer is working on that, and I'm waiting to hear back. I'm going to follow up with them tomorrow, actually, now that Westwood Day has passed, to see where we are with that. And then after that, I need to meet specifically with Pam Dukeman and finances and just go over that one more time. The netting is going to add some additional cost, and I want to talk to them also about seeing if we can't get the lighting done at the same time. And so we can do it in one phase rather than two. That's still up in the air, but that's part of the discussion, possibly using some ARPA money for that. But we'll see where that goes. Any questions about that?
Yes, I do. So Rich, is there, that's great, first of all, the mitigation, because as everybody in this call probably knows, I'll be talking about foul balls forever. But that's great that you're looking at the mitigation for the foul balls. And I do have a question about, has the engineering or actually the construction, have we hired a construction manager or
No.
or we're not, so
Not
we're
yet.
not even at that point. So we're looking
Well,
at,
actually, yes and no. So if we go forward, we have Beta. That's the
Beta.
engineering firm that would act. as a
Okay.
construction-
All right, so I heard something that you just said. So my last update, and I apologize because I've been, as you all know, I've not been at the last couple of meetings. But my understanding was that sometime this year that this construction was going to start. And so what is it now? What are we looking at?
I don't have an answer for you. I would love to, but I'm skeptical, Paul. It may not be until the spring.
Okay.
There's a few factors, one of which will be ability to push it through procurement and then having enough time before the snow falls to get it done.
Okay.
There's a bunch of projects being worked on right now, big projects in town, and I've got a few others that are also in the procurement queue. So,
But financing is not the issue. So my understanding is we are funding this through the recreation department.
a good portion of it, yes. I'm meeting with Pam soon, and we'll be able to answer that more definitively next time.
Okay,
But
great.
yes, that's my hope.
I can tell you a lot of people still asking about pickleball. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, our programs continue to grow. Yeah, I think a few of you actually participate in those programs, if I'm not mistaken. All right.
Wait, can I bring up one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Not that it's a discussion for tonight, because I don't want to open a can of worms, but I'm going to throw it in here because I feel like it goes with a pickleball discussion we've had previously. I just want to throw out the Sheehan courts again, and I know they're not going to be turned into pickleball courts because that would not be necessary now. But I just want to possibly bring up for a further discussion at another time, like maybe just a resurface, like no grading, nothing, no redoing the fence, just putting down new blacktop for kids to play soccer, kids to skate, people to put down their own pickleball lines if they want to play, just having another, like doing something with that space so that it's usable for like the public and also possibly the school.
I support, I know we don't want to get into a long discussion now, it's getting late. I support Katie in that's even if the schools tells us, or the town, Sheehan's, we don't want to do it because we don't want to have to dig it up. Nothing's happening in Sheehan. It's happened for years. We've lived in this town 24 years and that's been followed since then. So even at a minimum, it's probably 5 or 6 years before Sheehan gets rebuilt. Let's get this top. I agree with you, Katie. Let's cover it over with a cheap thing, not do a ton of work, and let people play on there.
Yeah. Joyce, were you trying to say something? Looked like you were. We can't hear you.
Unmute yourself, Joyce.
Well, it doesn't
No,
say
she was unmuted. No.
Yeah,
her
we
mic is
just-
Volume.
Hit your F5 button. Now try and talk.
You type in the chat, Joyce? Or
No,
Q&A?
we can't hear her at all.
think
I
she
know,
had
she's
a problem
I was
last
muted.
time too. Okay.
But we could hear Joyce earlier. No, we couldn't. Maybe we, yeah.
All right, I'm going to move on to the pool deck retile. I just wanted to give you an update of where we were. We were working with an engineering firm, got a quote, put it out for bid, and the bids came back double what the cost estimate was that the engineering firm gave us. And it's more money than we were allocated for the project. So that project is stalled. We're meeting with the engineering firm this week to review and reassess how we're going to proceed with this. So that was pretty disappointing, to be truthful. And yeah, hopefully I'll have a better answer for you or a better update for you next time. But I just want to let you know that that's where we were with that. We were hoping that we were going to get it done this year, but that's not going to happen now. And our next window is because we have to plan around swim teams. The next window is next spring. So we got a little bit of time, but not a lot sorted.
Rich, only because we're talking about the pool, did we find that, did we ever fill the lifeguard slot that was open? I
No,
saw that the posting was down.
no, we have not filled that.
Are we gonna
And you're
repost-
talking about the aquatic specialist position, I assume.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that is still open.
is it posted? Because I was directing a few people towards that opening.
The last time I looked, it was still open, Teresa, but I haven't looked in a week or two, so I don't know if it is right this minute.
Okay,
I would assume it was. I don't know why it would be taken down if it was, but you know, the last time I looked, it was.
So couldn't someone look into whether it was taken down by mistake or if it's still up?
Yeah, it'll take me 2 seconds tomorrow. I'll do it.
Rich, on another note, is there enough fields for fall sports? I don't see anything in here about fall sports. Everything's fine with it?
Yeah, no problems with the fields as far as I know. Yep,
Cool.
nothing's been reported to me.
That's great.
That's first. Usually.
Yes,
it's
I know.
You know, not with the fall. It's spring that's usually the problem.
Oh, because of lacrosse and soccer. both.
It's just the demand for the fields in the spring is very heavy. All of the spring sport, it just, all the youth sports leagues want them. And of course, the high school, Iraq, there's just a lot of demand for them in the spring. Summer's the least demand. Of course, there is no demand in the winter, but the fall is probably second, summer third.
Okay. And I was talking to you about the turf in the backfield, multi-purpose turf. It's horrible. You're talking about resurfacing that?
They already have the money allocated. They went out for bid this spring. The original plan was to have it done this summer, but I don't, it's not my projects, it's DPW's, but it's my understanding that and I suspect it's probably supply chain or whatever. It's just, they just need to line up the installation with the availability of the product to get it done. So it's in queue, the project is bid, it's done. It's just a matter of scheduling it, from what I understand. And that's 50,000 feet. I don't have all the details. DPW does.
Great.
All right. I think that's it for the agenda.
Yay.
I do have one comment. Peggy McGinnis, under the question and answer, submitted a question to the Recreation Commission. I think we should all take a look at that.
I don't see any question.
The Q&A.
Can you
It's
read
here.
it, Paul?
Said it would be great to hear it from the special ed staff at each of the schools. What are the plans to promote through the school staff? I've always asked what is a good fit, and no one in the special ed staff knew what to tell me. They tell me to go to other programs outside of Westwood. So I don't know
So
what that
maybe
is in direct.
promote the programming that
This was when we were talking about
through
the
special ed.
timing of the programming and doing the quiet and having like the sensory hour.
Okay.
You know, like it would fall under those things. Like, how would we promote these things?
So if some
Okay.
parent is saying to one of the teachers, you know, do you know of any programs? And now we have fall programming, there's work going on for winter and spring, we could promote those programs through the
Through the
schools. Idea.
So should we be answering this? Should this be coming from somebody?
I don't, yeah.
Do you
we
see
can
it?
address it.
Do you see
No.
that question? You don't see it on the Q&A down in the, down next to participants on the bottom of the screen? It says
Oh,
participants
actually, I
Q&A.
do now, yeah.
Is that just like
Into our
public
notes.
comment? Like we take it in like any other
Yeah,
public comment?
it's part of public comment, yeah.
And it looks like Tracy Charland is also
Yeah. All right,
commenting as well.
we can record those and take note of them.
Okay. So my only question is, when we end this Zoom call, will this conversation the responses not get back to Peggy or
But we
Tracy.
don't respond to public comment in the meeting, do we?
Okay,
No.
Yeah.
No,
okay, all right,
But it
sounds good.
sounds like it's a good suggestion.
All
Can
right,
you
very
cut-
good.
Can you cut and paste these into our minutes? So
I
that,
have 'em.
oh, thank you. Perfect.
Yeah, that would be great. Put them in the minutes here.
Okay, so I'm looking on the calendar for next month for October 17th or October 10th.
Well, it's usually the third Monday, right? That can't be the 10th.
Yeah. Okay, so 17th? Anyone
That's a
have
holiday
interest in that?
anyway.
Is that that's a holiday, I think,
No, I
right?
thought the 10th would be the holiday, wouldn't it?
The 10th is the holiday.
The 10th is Columbus Day.
Perfect.
Oh, good. So then we should do it on the 17th then.
before we adjourn, can I just offer a suggestion? I don't know if we have a Westwood Rec like contact list, but I'm happy to put together a Google form for people to submit like their name, phone number, email if they're willing to.
I
And
think
then I
Rich
can-
has, Rich, do you have one already? Because we used to have one that
I
circulated,
don't understand the question. What?
a list of
public?
commissioners.
No, for us, like,
For
if
us.
I, like, there's no way for me to like reach out to Joyce or to anyone on our,
I just need to remind you all that if you have 4 of you talking together, it's a public meeting. You can't do that.
So you can talk one-on-one though, right?
right, but even like tonight, when they wanna, like, if we're gonna put together like a small committee to look
Yep.
at, it would just be easier instead of like you having to connect everyone. If it's something that is needed, I'm happy to put together something.
Yeah, I have all that information in my contact list. I can ask, I can pull together. I don't know if I have everybody's cell phone, if I'm being honest, but I certainly have everybody's email. I can check. I might be missing one of people's phone numbers. But I can share it with y'all.
All right.
But
so-
again, I need to remind you emphatically that you can't be having meetings behind the scenes, so to speak. Even an email with 4 people on it's considered a public
Yeah.
meeting.
So the next,
You just need to be very careful of that. That's all.
so the next meeting or next discussion that I think is going to be happening is going to be with myself, Teresa, and Raina. There's 3 of us, so we can talk about what
Yeah.
our next steps are. So that's
And I'm going to specifically look up the rules on subcommittees and how that works too. I have
right, great.
I've read it, but it's been a while. We haven't had one in 3 years, so
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Paul,
I've got to
and,
refresh my memory on that, and I'll let you guys know.
you and Bob and I were probably the last one on the field policy, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
we
and that was
had
back in 2019.
Taryn met with us. She was not on the rec, she's in the rec department, not on the rec commission, but they were, we had meetings in the rec office at the time.
Yeah.
And minutes were distributed, so we were good.
But it was just 3 of us, so.
Those were back in the Nicole days. So
Yeah, right. We can't assume that all procedures were followed, right? You want to look for yourself.
Right, great.
I'm sure they were, but the point is, I just want to make sure that now
Right.
that I'm the director, that I'm
Yeah.
familiar with them.
You're
thoroughly, and
responsible, yeah.
that I advise you of what the rules
Mhm.
are, et cetera, and make sure that we stay within the rules. That's all. So I will look at that this week and get back to y'all.
All right, so I need a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
I'll
Second.
second.
Perfect. Paul motioned and second. Now I have to go through everyone here. We got Katie,
approve.
Paul,
Agree.
Approve. Agree. You and me both, Katie.
Bowed.
I'm so, who did you say?
Bowed.
approve.
Good. Teresa,
Approve.
Ann,
Aye.
Mitch,
Approve.
and I like looking at your face, Joyce, but you can't vote on it. Okay.
Uh-huh.
We're going to end it now at, what's our time? Our time, I've
8:17.
8:17.